What if you could take that risk, make that change, reach that goal, live your best life? Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast, where we get together with amazing experts and everyday people who share challenges, encourage healing, and explore the possibilities that life has to offer. I'm your host, Gary Scott, and I'm excited that you're along for the ride. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast. And my guest, all the way from Thailand, is Clay Moffat. Hey, Clay.
How you doing?
Living the dream, brother. Not living the dream like Thailand living the dream, but I mean, I'm living the dream, man. I appreciate you being here. I know it's late at night over there, so I'm going to read your intro real quick and we'll get cooking if that's okay.
Let's make it happen.
Let's do it. All right, everybody. We have Clay Moffat. Clay is an ex-Navy weapons tech turned behavioral coach and author of The Trust Trap. He spent 15 years helping high performers break toxic patterns, stop outsourcing their sanity, and take radical responsibility for their lives. Clay doesn't sugarcoat it. He teaches the neuroscience of trust, the psychology of betrayal, and why most people keep screwing themselves over and over. If you've ever ignored a red flag, sabotage your own success, or trusted the wrong person, then Clay is the guy for you. And this is your wake up call. So, all right, Clay, I love it, love it, love it. Can't wait to jump in here. I've watched a lot of your stuff and I know this is going to be great. So, real quick, because this is what I have to always ask is the what if you could question with the what if you could podcast. So, Clay, you ever had a what if you could moment or what if you could thought that you'd like to share with the gang?
Absolutely. And it all circled back to the whole thesis of around how I see trust. And so the question is, what if you could live your life knowing that you could trust everyone? Every single person you ever meet for the rest of your life, you can trust them 100%. Is that something that you would want to be able to do?
Well, everyone who knows me knows I don't trust anybody. And I don't know why I'm geared that way naturally, but I just don't trust anybody. I don't know. I don't think I've ever been burnt. But yeah, so I guess if I could just go into every situation and go, dude, I totally trust you. You're not going to screw me over. That would change the way I approach things, wouldn't it?
I think it changed the way you see the world and it changed the way that you build the world around you.
Hmm. Yeah, because the lack of trust can equal fear. And when you live in fear, you block off all the flow. You can't take the chances. You can't move forward in things that you want to move forward. So having that trust, just jumping, right, I guess will open you up to all sorts of great things.
Yeah, the difference is we need to redefine what trust is. So a lot of people, the best way that I've been able to express it and explain it has come out as I've been talking about this and expressing this, and it's been more of a back and forth. And it hit me the other day that the realization is this: the standard version of trust that everyone has and that everyone defaults to by default, by mechanism, by how we've been brought up, like the romanticized Disney version of I can go trust this person, it's going to work out, like the story's going to end perfect. No, no, not that. The real version of trust, where you never get screwed again and you don't screw yourself again, is that you can trust everyone, but you're not trusting them to meet your expectations. You're trusting them to meet theirs, and they will always trust you to meet yours, Gary. That's as simple as it gets. Because there is this demonization of people that I see very, very often and very, very harshly applied and very inaccurately applied to people if it's getting down to the brass tacks of it, where people think that it's a bad thing to have a selfish interest in something. And when I see people do that, I'm like, you just don't understand the fundamental principle of human behavior. There's no act that you can do, and there's no act that you're going to do willingly where there is not a perceived benefit for you in some way. It doesn't mean that the act that you're now doing this thing for someone, it's like, I'm a coach. I really enjoy helping people and I get paid for it. So does that mean that I shouldn't do it anymore because I enjoy it? Nope. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. But I do enjoy it. And I get paid well for it. So that's a good thing. And it makes me want to show up even more for my clients. Brilliant. It's a good thing. Right?
Yep.
And so recognizing that trust is not this permanent thing that you apply to someone and then now they're trustworthy for the rest of their life. No. Trust is about a mutual alignment. It is about alignment of you both working towards something that is beneficial for each of you. And so long as you are paying attention and seeing that you still have this mutual alignment, I can trust you to do what's right by me because it's right by you. And you can equally trust me to do what's right by you because it's the right thing by me to do. And as soon as we start to have this deviation away, well, then I can trust that you're going to continue doing what's right by you. And that may mean, it doesn't mean it's going to definitely be the case, but it may mean that that's not in my best interest.
Yeah. It's a great concept, right? But at some point, it just seems like something switches in people. Maybe greed sets in, or something changes in their life, or something works against what you're both beneficials. Like you said, like people sabotage themselves. It's like, hey, this is going great. I love this partnership with Clay. Everything's going well, but they self-sabotage, right? And when you meet a self-sabotager, I mean, how do you work with them to stop that? How do you get people to stop self-sabotaging?
Alignment. It's purely comes down to alignment. So trust is built on alignment, and everything I do is built around the frame of alignment. And typically speaking, let me retract that. Not typically speaking. Every single relationship that you have had, you have right now, and you will ever have has an expiration date. Every single one. Because the pure and simple fact is that we have an expiration date. So no matter what happens, the relationship is going to end one way or another. So to think that it's permanent is the first mistake. Now, the recognition, and you touched on something briefly that where you said, okay, people are going to sabotage and eventually, like, they're going to sabotage the relationship. Well, yes and no. Some people won't sabotage the relationship, but their incentives for going and doing this thing is going to shift. Right. So the example that I use quite often is when I was working with a startup and the co-founders were like working really, really hard and they both committed to doing like 80, 90-hour weeks and they were like sacrificing all this time. And the company started doing very, very well and they were hitting their targets and they were exceeding, they were getting ready for an acquisition and an exit, et cetera. Blah, we're fantastic, blah, 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 blah. Like, okay. But as they're going along, one of the co-founders' wives get pregnant. And so now he starts not wanting to work that amount of time. And so this guy starts feeling betrayed. And so you could argue that he's sabotaging. I would say no. The incentive has changed. And what happened was that's called co-founder number one, number two. Co-founder number one still committed to the original cause because he's so fixated on this deal that was made back here when they were different people. He's not paying to the reality of the incentives and of the shift that's going on in the psychological needs of the other person. And people get so caught up in, okay, this is my expectations, this is how I need things to be done, that we don't pay attention to what's going on with the other person that's in the relationship and how their psychological needs have shifted. And when you pay attention to what's going on with their needs and their incentives, you don't get blindsided or backstabbed because you start to see the narrative forming before it even hits you. And so you start going, okay, I get what's happening. I get that you're shifting this way. That doesn't mean you're trying to screw me over. That doesn't mean you're trying to do something bad. That means you're looking after you and your family. And I'm happy for you. Go do that thing. I'm going to keep going this way. Should we buy you out? Should we exit? Like, what do you want to do? Should we restructure the company so that I'm getting rewarded for more of my efforts and you're not doing this? Like, how are we going to do this moving forward? And you can have this process. And so you can mitigate a lot of these things simply by paying attention. And most people stop paying attention. And that's a default process that we all do. And the beautiful thing about it that I love so much is when you have a marketer, right? Marketers always sell this. Like, you have to tell them, Clay, it's not their fault. Because if you tell them it's their fault, they're never going to buy from you because you're going to make them feel shamed. You're going to make them feel guilty. I'm like, yeah, you're right. That's absolutely true. I'm not going to argue with you. And the very cool thing about this, Gary, is that it's not your fault. It's an evolutionary loophole, right? The brain is a conservation machine. It wants to hold on to as much energy as possible. It doesn't want to expend energy unless it's almost guaranteed a result. So imagine if you had to vet every single person every single time you met them. Imagine if your brain had to pay attention to how to open a door every time you approached a door because it couldn't remember how to. We learn these things, we automate these things, we turn them into automatic patterns so that we don't need to spend the energy. And we do it with people too. And so while you say you don't trust anyone fully, there are degrees to your levels of trust. And so there are certain things that you will trust people with, small things maybe, not massive life-changing things, but there'll be degrees of trust that you have. For example, if you go to a restaurant, I would argue that you don't sit there going, that waiter's going to definitely jerk off in my food. Right? You don't do that every time you go out to a restaurant. Am I wrong?
That's right.
So do you see what I
Or I
mean?
would
Like,
never go out, right? I'd become some
right. No
paranoid Howard
way. Who
Hughes and
would?
just sit in my home for the rest of my life.
But that's my point, right? So there are micro agreements and micro trusts that we do. For example, if you go for a haircut, you're like, oh, this guy's going to slit my throat. I better not go get a haircut, right? Like there are things like, but in any other situation, if I came up to you in the street walking with a pair of scissors going, hey, man, let me, you'd be like, get away from me, you freak, right? There's context where we just assume the trust and it's safe. Does that make sense?
Very true. Very true. Yes.
So,
And so what you're saying is you're saying it's an it's is it a natural thing that we could switch on and off, or is it a learned habit where we need to learn the process of the trust? Because like you said, our brain, I mean, we'd be blowing through brain cells like crazy if we had to continuously do that, right? We'd be exhausted all the time. We'd be in a fog. So is it a process that, like I said, you touched on like winners and losers, right? There doesn't have to
mhm,
be a winner and loser in every situation, right?
right, exactly. And there never needs to be a winner and loser, but it depends on how you step into something, right? If you're looking at something in the standard way that I see that trust evolves and plays out is that it is a competition, right? I got burned by you, and because I got burned by you, I can't trust people. So that means my trust defenses are up. So now I'm not going to let people in because I got this experience and I lost last time. Coming from the different way, which is, I promise you, very much a learned process, and it's something you need to condition, and it is something that takes time and does take work. It's not like, hey, I just heard about this new process. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And it's going to be, no, because you are going to be fighting your evolution of your brain wanting to conserve energy. Now, you can start to make it default to a point where when you're getting red flags come up, you realize that it means pay attention. And it means suspend what happened with the representation that you made at the start of this deal, at the start of this relationship, and pay attention to the reality of what's happening now. Pay attention to the signals of what's happening now. Pay attention to the word. Pay attention to the nonverbals. Pay attention to what's happening in the exchange. And then that will allow you to go, okay, you pay more attention to those things when they come up, and then you can navigate things. You go, okay, their incentives have shifted. Something's off here. Let me ask the questions. Let me dig into this. And you can start to find the information that you need that is there, that's relative, so that you do not get trapped into this old stale mechanism that you made a deal with this person 2 years ago, 2 months ago, 10 years ago, and think that that person is the exact same person, because you're not the same person you were 10 years ago. But because of these mental shortcuts that we have, we automatically default to that with other people.
Yeah. And I'm a real estate broker, and my son's my partner in business. So I've been doing it 35 years, and we have a database of past clients, right? Center of
Yeah.
influence, past clients, yada yada yada. And a lot of agents get this warped well, I've got 500 people in my database. I've got 500 past clients, center of influence, whatever. And in their brain, it's like, well, I don't have to cure these people. I don't have to take care of these people. I don't have to nurture. I sold their house 10 years ago. And I know that they're going to call me if they ever want to sell again because we had such a great experience, right? But
Right.
their lives changed the moment you sold them that house, and everything
Exactly.
changed continuously, continuous. And you drive by their house and there's a for sale sign with someone else's name on it. You go, what happened? It's like, well, their life changed, dude. They completely forgot about you. It's not that they're bad people. It's not that you should be mad at them.
Right.
Their life changed, and you didn't change with them.
Not only didn't you change with them, you didn't even acknowledge the change. You didn't even go and participate in the change. Like it's amazing when you see this and you see people get rejected because someone didn't do something with them. Like, okay, and what effort did you put into the relationship to sustain it? Like there's relationships that I don't really have anymore with friends from Australia. There are some friends that I still keep in touch with, and but the majority that I don't. And I tried putting relationship in with a lot of them. I putting effort in everything. I just wasn't getting it reciprocated. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just cut ties. It's okay. Like I'm okay. Now, if I see that person in the street, I will stop and say, I'm just going to walk past them like you rejected me. No, the relationship has expired.
Yes.
We no longer see eye to eye. We don't share the same alignment. We're not moving the same direction. Are they a bad person? No, they're really cool people. I like them. They're still amazing people. Our lives have gone on very, very different paths. And does it make me an ass? Well, yeah, possibly if you ask them, because maybe they think that because I've changed or because I left Australia, because I did something and maybe they're holding on to that grudge. Do I see it as a bad thing? No. But I've also spent a lot of time delving into like what makes me tick, what makes the human brain tick, what makes other people tick, so I can start detaching myself from all the pain that I was authoring and start to have a life that is free from that and just more exploratory, more curiosity, and more just like what really gets the things moving in the world.
You know, you just said curiosity and moving forward, and here in America, I mean, we're burning relationships like we're burning fossil fuel, man. It's insane because of the political atmosphere we're in, and the
Right.
powers that be just love it. I mean, they just sit there shaking that jar of ants, right? They just love that we hate each other and we're fighting and that we just you know, relationships do have expiration dates. I love that. And I think if you look at that in that way, it's less painful when someone just bails. It's like, dude, what's your fuck problem? I don't, you know what? We were really close buds just because of this. I go this way, you go that way, and now we can't be friends. It's insanity. But it's like, well, that relationship had an expiration date. It's like a
He's right.
carton of milk, right? It just soured and we're out of here.
But that's one of the best analogies you could use. Like it's spot on the money, and it's not through anyone's wrongdoing. Like, oh well, the sun came out, and so it ruined the milk. So now we need to blame the sun because like, it's got nothing to do with it, right? The milk has a shelf life. Everything has a shelf life, and it's okay. And trying to control the narrative of other people's lives and trying to control the narrative of the relationship becomes exhausting.
Yeah.
And it just takes away from the value of the relationship. Now, I had someone say to me, well, for a relationship to work, you need to put in 100%. I said, I agree. And at the same time, the other person also needs to put in 100%. And if you're the only one that's continually showing up and putting in 100%, then you got to ask, is this something that I want to do? And sometimes it is because you really value the friendship, and that's okay. And sometimes it's not. And that's okay to let that go too.
Yeah. I love the term that you said, outsourcing their sanity. Stop
Hmm.
outsourcing their sanity because we're living in an insane world right now, whether it's business, friendship, relationships, family. I mean, families, tearing each other apart. I mean, and here in
Yep.
America, but I think around the world, I mean, just seeing the UK's on fire, America's. So stop outsourcing their sanity. What do you mean by that? Outsourcing their sanity.
People defer to other people's opinions to make their own opinions all too often. And someone else will say, oh, this is super important. And then to go with the crowd, to not upset the apple cart, people just kind of go along with things. Just, let bygones be bygones. And that's fine. But when it comes to like, that becomes the dominating philosophy of your life. Well, now you're not taking any ownership. Now you're not taking any direction. You're not moving in a way to get things going where you want to go. You're not having the impact that you want to have. And so things are going to keep getting in your way and they're going to keep pushing back against you. And what starts happening is when you start outsourcing, when you start letting other people tell you what's good for you, let other people make these decisions for you, and let other people influence you to that degree, you start taking a back seat in the direction of your life. And initially, it can feel okay, right? Because you're being guided, you're being shown where to go. But the more you subscribe to it, the more you realize that you actually become powerless because you start giving away the power and the direction, the agency, and the ownership in your life. And it starts to create an intensely depressive and victimized person because now they start trying to control. Like, this is the whole cancel culture movement, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, you offended me, so that means you're not allowed to tell that joke and you're not allowed to have that career because I'm offended by you, and you need to change your reality to fit in what my reality should be with. Like, yeah, that's not going to happen, mate. Go do one. Like, get out of here.
You should move to America because that's exactly what it is. It used to be one of my most favorite things to do in the world was to get together with a buddy over a beer or a glass of wine or whatever and just
Yep.
hammer it out, just like go after it, right? Because you believe
Yep.
this, I believe that. Let's kick the shit out of each other. And then when we go on the night, give you a big hug. Love you, man. Let's do this again tomorrow. This was great. But
Exactly.
now we have no ability to do that. It's exactly like you said. It's like, you have the freedom to believe anything you want as long as it's what I believe. Right?
Right. As long as it's what I tell you, you can believe.
Yes.
Right? It's even worse. It's not even what I believe. Like, I tell you, this is what you can believe. This is what's acceptable. So you need to do this. Otherwise, sorry, you're not allowed to believe it because it doesn't fit in with my agenda. So you need to go believe something else.
And if you don't, and if you don't, you're not only out of the tribe, but you're out of work. You're no longer can function in society. Your kids can't hang out with my kids. It's really gotten to the point of, like you said, it's sanity. We've lost our sanity with this. What what brought you to this? I mean, what brought Clay to this? Like, I got to look into this shit, or I'm experiencing this, and I got to figure out what the heck is going on here. What brought you to this stuff?
Initially, initially, what got me into this was me being a victim and me being an unknowing victim. I didn't even know it. And that's the part that sucks, right? Like, to walk around for
Yeah,
27 years and realize that you
yeah,
didn't even know that you're the jerk that's causing all the pain in your life. That's a tough pill to swallow. And I think it's why most people never continue down the path. Because they get to that point like, oh, you mean I've got to take responsibility for all this? Yeah, I'll see you later. And then off they go. Like, I'd rather blame you for that because then, I'm whole high and mighty and it's your fault. And, I can blame, I don't know, what is the thing? I was in the Bay Area many moons ago, right? And I was visiting a friend of mine there, and we left his apartment and walked down to his local coffee shop to get some coffee. And I didn't understand half the things that were on the menu, right? Because you guys got 70 different mochaccino, fluffy, whatever the hell they're called, right? And I was, look, man, I just want a chai latte. Do you have a chai latte? Like, just give me something simple. Anyway, I was standing there taking my time to decide what I wanted, right? Because I wanted to make sure I was going to get something I liked. And I walked up, and my wife at the time was like standing in front of us, and I walked up and like stood in front of her, and this black lady was a couple of people behind, and she goes, "Excuse me," You're going to let him just like use his white privilege like that on you? And I turned around and looked at her, and my wife turned and looked at her. She goes, what? She goes, did you see what he just did? She goes, yeah, I did. She's like, well, what are you going to do about it? And I turned and said, nothing, because she's my wife. So shut the fuck up. And she's like, you can't talk to me like that. I'm like, who the fuck are you to talk to me like that? Like, who are you to tell me what I can and can't do with my wife? Like, get out of here. Like, where do you get off that you've got this now pedestal you can stand on and tell me that I can and can't do things? I said, I'm a tourist in your country, number one. I said, number two, I didn't push in. Number three, I'm connecting with my wife. Like, what's your problem? Go tell someone else your story. And this fragility that people start to have was something that I had, not to the degree where I'd be doing those kind of things, right? But that's how I carried myself. And to see that and to realize that I was an echo of that just sucks, man, to know that that's how you were. But the thing that got me into this was the victimhood and me figuring out, you know what? I'm going to figure
Mm.
out a way to make people do what I want. I'm going to learn these language patterns. I'm going to learn these psychological processes and these techniques to influence people, and they're going to do what I tell them to do. They're going to move in this direction. Like that's the big thing I was pushing for. And it was a complete waste of time because there's no magic language phrase that's going to work, that's going to open the door for every single person on the planet if you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you're a piece of shit, then you can learn all the language you want, but nothing's going to change because people respond to who you are,
Yeah.
right? That's why some people have visceral reactions to Bill Clinton, others have visceral reactions to Donald Trump, others have visceral reactions to Joe Biden, to Kamala Harris. Like, people respond in these ways because they see things that they want to see inside these people, and then that influences them. And then with what you're talking about with regards to the dumpster fire that's going on at the moment, like the media's politicized people so much that like I couldn't believe that I got abused on Facebook a few years ago by some random person I never met when he started calling me a libtard. I didn't even know what the hell a libtard was. And he's like, you stupid libtard, you wouldn't even know this, 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 and this, and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, he was a friend of a friend. And my friend saw this and said, you better go apologize to him because if he sees you in person, he'll beat the shit out of you. I said, number one, like he is not a libtard. Number two, he's been to Iraq and Afghanistan, like, and served his country. Number three, like, what the, and like this guy ended up, hey man, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whatever, man. Like, you need to go figure out what's going on in your brain. I'm a random person on the internet. It's got nothing to do with you. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well,
But this,
people,
this, that's what goes on, you
we
know?
live in that though, don't we? I mean, right now we live in this anger zone. We live in this like fight or flight moment constantly. They've got everybody on edge to just jump on anything like that. And like you said, victims. I mean, man, in America, everyone's a fucking victim, man. Everybody's a victim. Everyone's offended. Everyone is ready to just pounce on anything you say. And so that immediately cuts off any conversation. That immediately cuts off any communication. That immediately cuts off any trust. So when you're talking about, trust, it's tough to trust someone when they just rip you for no reason. They don't even, right? It's just they just blow up.
It's very tough to trust someone if you're going off the traditional method, yeah, because you're trusting them to meet your expectations, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to trust someone that they're going to meet their own expectations because when they start wigging out, right, it's got nothing to do with you and it's got everything to do with their internal representation of the world.
Yeah.
And so then it's got nothing to do with you. And you're like, oh, okay, this is where they're at. This is where their head's at. Okay, I can trust that this is going to be a similar response no matter what I present to them because this is their frame of mind. This is how they're showing up at this point in time. So I can trust that this is going to be a system and this is going to how it's play out. And likewise, when you connect with someone that you can have a conversation with, that you can hold space with, that you can go, you know what, Gary, you're wrong, man. I disagree with you. Like, you're absolutely wrong. Like, I had a coaching call this morning and your last evening, and I just wasn't understanding what one of my clients was saying to me. And I was like, no, 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 it's not right. Like, this is on, like, blah, blah, blah. And I challenged him. And it was I could see I could see he was like wriggling under the pressure, and it really made him feel small. And I didn't want to make him feel small, but I could not understand what he was trying to say. And the way it was coming across as, to me, something extremely negative. To him, he was saying something extremely positive. And so I was pushing back and he was pushing back. We got to it in the end, and it became like a huge moment for both of us. I'm like, okay, I get you. You are absolutely right. That is perfect. This is the best thing that you've said, blah, 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 blah. And for him, it showed him that it was okay for him to push back, and it was okay for him to argue and stand his ground and to reword something so that he could get someone to understand his point of view. And so it was a massive learning in that. So
But it
there
was
are
also,
people
but it
that are
was
willing to
also
do that.
great, but it was also great for him to be able to accept being called out, right? A lot of people, once
Yeah,
you call them out, completely shut down. They're done. You might as well just cut off the camera, cut off the call because you're not going to be able to get them back. So kudos for
right.
both of you because he accepted being bitch slapped and called out, but you accepted the fact that, wait a minute, I'm just not, what he's saying is right, but I'm just not getting it. We're not like touching on it, right? And so kudos to both you guys. It's not, people cannot be called out right now. God forbid. They just get offended and say you call me the wrong pronoun and they go under their bed and just cry. It's just bizarre, right? So kudos for
It's
both you guys.
it's tough for people to be friends with me if that's their MO. Like I don't go out of my way to offend people,
Mhm.
right? At the same time, like if I say, "Hey mate, what's going on?" And I have said that mate is a very Australian thing. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female. Like I use the word dude as a colloquialism. I don't care if you're a male or female. And I've had women say to me, "I'm not a dude." I'm like, "To me, you are." She's like, "What are you talking
I
about?" I
call
said,
some of my best girlfriends, dude, what
"Yeah,
are you doing?
exactly." Like, dude, what are you thinking? Are you nuts? What? And some
Yeah,
people got
but
really bent out of shape
you
about it.
you're you are honest about the fact that you don't sugarcoat shit. I mean, it's not like you pretend like I'm just going to be this great la 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 guy and I'm just going to let you do whatever you want and I'm just going to placate you so I can take your money to coach you. You're like, no, that's bullshit. I mean, if I'm not here to sugarcoat stuff. I'm not here to be your best friend. Yeah, I used to be a piece of shit in one way, but now I can be a piece of shit in another way. But I'm
Exactly.
doing it because I care and I want the best for you, right?
That's I think when people can connect with that, it's tough for a lot of people to connect with that. But when people do connect with that and they see through like the intense, unfiltered, raw delivery that just gets like sent their way, and they connect with the intention of it, it becomes very transformative and very powerful for them, and very liberating. One of the first trainings I went to in the States was like 2015, 2016. And there were a fair few women at this training, right? It was an NLP training. And I had three of them come up to me at the end of the training, like, "You are so intimidating." I'm like, "What?" Like, I'm just standing here. What are you talking about? I'm not trying to do intimidate. Like, it's just your presence. Like, you just seem very sure in who you are. I said, "I've done a lot of work to get to this point. It wasn't like this always. Before, it was like this fake bravado, but now I'm very confident in my skin. Now, it doesn't mean you can put me in every single room and I'll be able to figure it out. Not straight away, but you give me enough time and I will. I'll be able to figure it out. I'll be able to figure out how to get through the room, how to act, how to interact, and I can make things work. It's still always going to be me. But to be told that I was intimidating was a very interesting process because I never ever would have considered myself to be intimidating, not by a long shot. I consider myself to be direct, very much so. And then the realization was very simple, Gary. It was that a lot of people aren't used to direct. A lot of people are used to not necessarily sugarcoating, but people taking 30 words to say something that could be said in five.
You know what I think? See if you agree with this is there's very little authenticity in the world. And when someone shows up as their authentic self, people are intimidated because everyone lives behind the social media, this cloud, this face, this I put masks on when I do social media, whatever that shit's called, that they change their look, whatever. But so when
Right.
you show up as your authentic self, people don't know how to deal with that. It can be intimidating.
Definitely. And I think we all have masks. We all have masks that we wear to some degrees. Even when you're showing up as your authentic self, there's things that you will hide from the public view because you don't want to be labeled or shamed or whatever, right? It's not like you just explain, oh yeah, by the way, you know what? I love to whatever, and I could say some really random thing, but I
I
won't just
know.
for the viewers'
I love to
sakes,
have
right?
sex with animals, but I'm
Yeah,
not going to tell you
like
that because that would be
yeah,
bizarre.
right. What was I reading the other day? Uh, some article about how there's a new trend and over 20% of men love getting pegged. I'm like, what the hell is this? And it's like, I read into the article and it's like, okay, like they enjoy chicks with strap-ons. Like, all right, cool, no worries. But now it's a homophobic thing. I'm like, oh, whatever. The people that do enjoy that, they're not going to go and tell everyone about that because they're self-conscious about it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to show up as their authentic self. So there's levels to authenticity as well, I think. And I think what happens with a lot of people, and to the point that I believe you're trying to make, is that when someone shows up as who they are and who they are off camera is the same as who they are on camera, that can be jolting for a lot of people because a lot of people have very different personalities for their online personality versus their offline personality.
Mhm. Yeah, very true. Very true. You were talking about when you were working with different theories or you were working with different ways of communicating with people, and you found them to kind of all be bullshit. One of the first things thought in my head was NLP, neuro linguistic
Mhm.
programming, how a lot of times we mirror and match, or we trying to get into people's biorhythms and stuff like that.
Yep.
Is that part of what you're talking about, or you just think the NLP is bullshit?
No, I don't think NLP bullshit. I think NLP, yeah, it's technically pseudoscience, but it's also comes from a very solid grounding in psychotherapy and linguistics. How can I say this in the best possible way? Okay, you go take your car to a mechanic shop. That mechanic screws up your car. Does that mean that every single mechanic is useless? No.
No.
But you had a bad experience with a mechanic that doesn't know what he's doing. And I don't see it any differently to therapy. I don't see it any different to psychology, psychiatrists, surgeons, doctors, pilots, whatever. There are practitioners that are exceptionally good. There are run-of-the-mill practitioners, and there's practitioners that should not be practitioners at all.
Yeah.
And so NLP is, in the founder's words, a set of tools and techniques that leave a trail of behavioral change. And so through this process and through this understanding, you can actually build very useful things. But with regards to the engaging in biology and syncing with things, yes, but it's not necessarily mirroring and matching in that regard. It's not, okay, like now I'm putting this hand up here and it's been like 5 seconds and then you move your hand here and now I'm going to put my hand here. And like, it's not regards to that, right? That is a process. You can do those things and those things can work. What I meant was I went and started studying a lot of linguistics and language patterns and reading Richard Cialdini's work and reading books by people that have studied psychopaths and people that have studied con men and like trying to figure out how to social engineer things. I went through these processes, figure, okay, what are psychopaths doing? What are con men doing? And how can I leverage these social science mechanisms to engineer people into certain states where they're going to be more open to be able to do what I want that is in my best interest. And it's also going to be in their best interest, right? So, for example, for a promotion, I'd worked my butt off for this promotion. I'd worked my ass off, really. And I got told, yeah, I'm next off the rank. And then, wouldn't you know it, nepotism came in, so they promoted someone else. I'm like, you know what? I'm out. I quit. And they're like, what? I'm like, no, no, you are going to be the next one. I said, man, you've told me that 3 times in a row, and then someone else has come on and they've been promoted. I'm like, I'm done. Like, I've really worked my ass off. Now, truth be told, looking back, I don't actually think I was ready for a promotion at that point in time. I think I jumped the gun. But because I'd been told I was next off the rank 3 times, I'd set myself up to like, this should be me now. And so I started formulating the belief. And so then the victim whole thing came in, right? And that was actually the final mechanism that caused me to read my first book, which was Rintu Basu's The Black Book of Persuasion. And that led me down to linguistic patterns, and that led me to NLP, that led me to hypnosis, to neuroscience, to con men training, and like going through the whole plethora of things to learn how to do these things. And so that was the real deal that I went through. So yeah, that is one thing that you can do. You can definitely start to sync with their rhythms. You can start to match and model. But it was more about getting into the psychology behind what motivates people. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and recognizing that those needs are not static, they're very much dynamic, and that there are multiple elements that come into play. So the person's level of resilience, or as Nassim Taleb talks about, their level of anti-fragility, their level of ability to bounce back from trauma, from resets, from big traumatic, hurtful things that happen in their life, and then grow from that. Well, that will depend on how much they shift up or down the needs when something shifts in regards to their incentives. So, for example, before you started your firm, let's say you're working with someone else as an agent, right? And you're going through and you're selling. They say, you know what? If you don't make 3 sales in this next month, like you're out, you're not coming in. So what do? Just so we're clear, purely hypothetical, Gary, not suggesting you did any of this, so we're clear, right? You go and you make some side deals with these people. You're like, I'll cut this part and you don't have to do this and we can get over this to get it across the line.
Mhm.
Now, you are someone that values integrity. You also value putting food on the table for your family. And so you're like, you know what? No one's going to get hurt here. This is not a bad thing. It's not necessarily illegal. It's okay. Like, it's a gray line, but it's not illegal. No one's going to get hurt. It's okay. I can still feed my family. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't value integrity anymore. But because you've shifted down the hierarchy of needs and now it becomes, how am I going to support my family? You reprioritize what was important. And what was more important was putting food on the table. Integrity is still important. It's just not as important as you shift further down. Does it make sense?
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. It's funny that you say that because back in the day when they used to do these big listing and sales competitions at a company I was with early, like in the early 90s, and it was a pretty big prize for having the most sales in this one period. Well, this agent went and bought 2 houses. And at the end of the thing when he needed 2 to take it, right? And he freaking went and bought 2 houses as rental properties. I'm like, that's genius because no one gets hurt. There were
Yep.
sales. He bought them. Now he has 2 rental properties, but like that. So how did we put together the trust trap? What made you go and say, I need to put this into a book? I want to get the message out even more than I am. And so is there a training behind the book? Tell us about the Trust Trap book.
There was there was never any documented proof of how I work with people or how I decoded people. I'd never taught it to anyone. And on February 23rd this year, I was made acutely aware that there was a potential reality that in 3 weeks, I was going to be completely blind in both eyes. And that was due to the fact that I needed to have a surgery on I'm blind in my left eye and I have been for 15 years. The right eye started going in November last year, and the surgery that I needed to have was the same one that took the vision in my left eye. And so it didn't mean that it was definitely going to happen, but it meant that it was a very real possibility, and to ignore that would just be dumb. So I started to think of what would be the one thing that I could, what if you could? What if you could do one thing and leave an impact and like make a difference to help people that didn't require you to consistently be there or to consistently coach or to continue to show up in the world? And the only thing that really made sense was to write a book and to put it into a book. And so I pulled apart the mechanisms and what I've been learning over the years from nonverbals and from going through things and exploring things, and just made my peace with the fact that, okay, I think this is the most important thing that I can teach people. Trust is the fabric of every single relationship. You either have it or you don't. And it's a part of every relationship that you have had, that you currently have, and you will ever have. And you will either have it or you won't have it. So because it's so crucial to every single social dynamic that you have, regardless of whether it's personal or professional, I thought, well, this is a book that could really benefit the majority of people and could be really useful to help people reset how they see themselves in the world and therefore how they see the world itself. So that's was the forming of it. I'd never done any training on it. I'd never sold a course on it. I'd never sold anything around it. I'd never even told people this was like frameworks that I had. But the idea itself was there. I touched on it briefly in podcasts many years ago. And those podcasts were really well responded. I had people reach out to me saying, this is a really interesting topic. Like, can you tell me more about this? And it was the most anyone had ever reached out to me about it. When I started presenting the idea, I started getting a lot of positive feedback from it. So I was like, okay, there is a need here and people would really respond to this and they'll resonate with this message. So let me just dive in and see where it goes.
You said, um, first of all, it's crazy about your vision. Did you lose your the vision in your left eye from being in Iraq and Afghanistan, or
No, I was
no?
at
Just
a music festival. I was walking along. I was drunk out of my mind and the vision just vanished.
the Iraq thing was a way better would have been a better story. No,
It would definitely be a way better story. It'd also be complete
you'd be
bullshit.
get
So
100% disability and you'd get a bunch of dough. So, well, I'm sorry about your vision. I'm glad it
it's
didn't
all good.
completely go away. But you said uh, de decoded people.
Mhm.
Decoded people. What do you mean by decoding people?
Okay, so we were talking about before with regards to seeing congruence in people, congruence in their words, congruence in their actions, showing up with integrity, showing up how they go through things, and making sure that the words and the nonverbals are in alignment with each other. And so by decoding, by starting to break down things and starting to understand where this person is on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what their incentives are, what their needs are, what's driving their behaviors, how they're showing up, you can start to, for lack of a better word, create narratives about someone. And initially, they're all going to seem like they're total BS, right? But as you start to practice, and as you start to really understand behavior more, and as you start to analyze more, they become very scarily accurate. And so you can start to predict how people are going to respond to things. Now, I'm not perfect at this. I still screw it up. The closer I am to people, the harder it is to do because you know so much, so it gets like really cognitive. But when you start meeting people for the first time, there's no preconceived ideas. And for example, like I can do research on people, which I do research on people, and I can build stories. Okay, this makes sense. I believe this person's this way. They've got these beliefs. These are the things that are funneling this idea. This is where they're at psychologically speaking. This is how I can speak to them. This is what's going to resonate with them. This is things that I need to go out of the way for. Then we start having a conversation and I start tracking the baseline of how they're responding to things. I start getting validation on whether my narrative is correct or not. Oh, this part doesn't resonate. Oh, they're responding stressfully to this. We need to avoid that topic. Oh, they seem really interested in this. We need to move further into this topic and start to really decode how they're showing up because what people say is always filtered, right? Always to some degree. Even what I'm saying right now is somewhat filtered, right?
Yeah.
But what their body does, well, everybody's a snitch, right? They're going to snitch on you. It's going to give you up. It's going to tell, like, if you know what to look for, you'll be able to see what's going on with someone and they will think they've got you fooled. And you're like, okay, it's okay, buddy. I know what's going on. You're fine.
The body will snitch on you. Yeah. You know, Clay, there's so much that evolves around trust. I mean, in my business, there's 10 billion realtors, right? I mean, and we don't even really need realtors that much anymore. I mean, some people still want that to have someone there because it's such a big investment or it's a big transaction for people's lives. But with AI and all this other stuff and stuff like that, it's getting less and less important to have that person there. So trust is a massive thing in my business. When you sit
Yep.
down with someone and they're interviewing 10 people, 4 people, 3 people, they should be, um, they trust you. They're going to pick the person. It's all the same bullshit, right? What are you going to do to sell my house? The same all bullshit, right? What's the price? Same all bullshit. What it comes down to is I trust this person to do what they say they're going to do and to
Right.
not fuck stuff up from the sale of my house, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's the whole
Yep.
bottom line. And so I think in our world, we've just lost so much trust in each other as humans and people. So, I mean, you're here at a crucial time to step in, Clay, and go, look, we need to get trust back with each other because there are powers that be that are trying to really mess with us. And if we don't start trusting each other again, we're pretty screwed, huh?
I I would take it one step further. They're not trying to, they have massively eroded trust. If you look at governments, right? Let's just take a stand back wherever you were or wherever you did with regards to the whole COVID debate. It has been irrefutably proven that they knew it was in the lab leak in Wuhan, and they said it wasn't. It's been irrefutably proven that the horse dewormer that is recognized as a Nobel Peace Prize winning medication is actually beneficial for people. It is recognized that masks did nothing. It is recognized that the lockdowns did nothing. It is recognizing the vaccinations. Like this has all come out on the other side. So there is a huge distrust with the government, right? Right now, in your lovely country, which is going up in flames, I'm sorry to say,
It is. No, it's a true
trust
fact.
trust is getting eroded because Trump made a lot of promises and he's not keeping up on those things. And this Epstein files thing is just massive. And that's looking like a ticking time bomb, like it's going to go through. Like you spoke equally with regards to the UK. The UK has been getting kept silent. Now, I don't necessarily subscribe to everything the guy says, but I've been watching and following Tommy Robinson over the years. And what he's been saying with regards to these Muslim grooming gangs and all these things that are starting to happen, and with the way he's being treated, and with the records that he has paper records to prove all this stuff. There's a massive amount of distrust in that the government's actually got the people's best interest at heart. So, as a fabric in the Western world, it actually looks like there is a huge amount of distrust. And when people can't distrust the people in charge, that then starts to fall down. Okay, well, can I trust the police that work for those people in charge? I know I can't. Well, can I trust these people? And so it starts to create layers and layers and layers of distrust. And so I think that's where the system that you can apply individually to people, you can't apply it to systems because a system is designed to serve itself, right? Whatever your take is on religion, a religion is designed to serve itself. It's designed to create more followers, to create more people in, to build more. Like that's what they're designed to do. So you adhere to their rules, you adhere to their control. They've got the control over you because they can manipulate you because they're supplying your belief. Now, I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's evil. I'm just saying that's just how they work, right? And it's just a mechanism of a system. It's no different from AA. It's no different from Narcotics Anonymous. The systems create themselves and they become self-serving. And it's some of those systems are very powerful and very, very positive. And they then get to a point where it just gets taken out of proportion. And it's crucial for people to get to a point where they can take the power back and start to apply it to their individual relationships. So they can start to see, okay, this is something that's worth trusting. This has not expired. I can keep showing up here. I can continue anticipating these kind of results. And when those results start shifting and the relationship is starting to expire, you can be grateful for the relationship that you had for a while it lasted, as opposed to going, oh, I'm betrayed. Oh, you ruined my life. Or this did this. No, you had a good run. Things were great. You did great things together. These are beautiful memories that you've made. And now it's run its course. So now it's time to go into a new chapter.
I love that. I love that. I always tell people when, like, when we're fighting about the pandemic or the fact that, and they're like, well, you're gonna kill the world if you don't take it, right? Um, but I just, it's like, I love you, I bless you, and I set you free. I don't know what else to say. I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm not going to be offended by it.
Yep.
And now I can use the term, hey, it just expired, because one of my favorite things to say is we had a good run. When a good friend dies and they're 90, like I've got some friends that are old now and they're dying. I'm like, dude had a good run, man. I mean, I'm not going to cry about it. He had a good run. I
Yep.
mean, now he's moved on somewhere else, but yeah, it is really tragic. And that whole trust thing, I mean, when the government beats one segment of the world to say, you are going to kill everybody if you don't do this, when you know that it's not true. And then the other
Right.
people who are like, yeah, I believe the government, if you don't do this, you're killing people. It's like, well, now it just trickles down. The trust just completely gets more and more difficult, right? To share. But yeah, so I love what you're saying, Clay. I love everything that you're doing. Because I'm a real estate broker, I did lie. I said I had one question. Now I have, but I actually have two questions. So
Sure.
my last question for you, because I know it's late, there is, if there's a thought that you had, or if there's a message, or if there's a saying, or if there's something that really is kind of deep in Clay, and he would like
Mhm.
to share that message with everybody before we hasta luego, what would be that last final thought that you had for us?
Simply put, if you are in a place that's similar to where I was, and you think that the rest of the world is the problem, you need to look in the mirror.
I
Because,
completely lost you there. Can you hear me?
yep.
You can hear me? I completely lost you there.
Oh,
Where did you
really?
go?
It shows that mine's going up and down.
And it was so damn good.
Can you hear it?
All
No?
right. Well, well, we didn't get that last thought, but we got everything before that last thought. It might still be in there, but all right, everybody. Well, we've run our course. We've had the pleasure of sharing some time with Clay Moffat. Clay is a trainer. He's also the author of The Trust Trap. So, Clay, I'm gonna send us off, but I just want everyone to know thank you so much for joining us from Thailand. And guys, go look for Clay. Go find his stuff. Go find the Trust Trap, and you'll be glad you did. All right, brother. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks again for joining us on another episode of What If You Could podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and give us any feedback. We'd love to hear it. And remember, if you can dream it, you can do it. See you next time.